Hey guys, so this is going to go over um, the soul hunters inside of heroic. I am not going to bother with mythic because even if we get there in week 1 or week 2, I'll create a separate video on that because mythic, it was absolutely fucking crazy. But inside of heroic, we did kill this and we're able to see the entirety of the fight. Just with my boomer brain, I might decide to talk about how things change in mythic, but if I do, fucking either ignore it or say ooh ah. Okay. So we're gonna start off with this boss. So a few things on these guys. It is 3 bosses that have independent health from one another. When I say independent health, I mean that the damage you do to Dark Sorrow does not change the percentage health of Dusk or Blood. So really make sure we are killing these within a decent time frame of one another. I'll talk about what happens kind of when we get to the first intermission if you don't. But just kind of make sure that we have the proper ads, hit depending on what's the highest health. Dark Sorrow, which is Skull in this fight, Blood Wrath, which is X on this fight. These are the 2 tank bosses. Dusk Blaze, which is marked as a square, he is just going to leap around the room and do whatever. We just need to make sure as tanks we're moving these guys over to him, but we cannot control where Dusk Blaze is moving. Okay, so for the first thing on this fight that we have, we're going to show what we have is Devourer's Ire, which is here and here. This is a healer mechanic, but also a ranged or whatever else mechanic. What spawns is there's a little orb that spawns as long as you're soaking inside of here. That is something that goes on your head that picks up the poo-poo around the room. Over a period of time, it's like, I think it's like a dot and a healing debuff or something like that. But basically, you can only hold the orb for so long. When whenever we decide 10 stacks, 11 stacks, 12 stacks, whatever, when healers are dispelling, it jumps to another player. I'll kind of show that here from my POV the best that I can. But just know, if you have a little orb on top of your head, go into the poo-poo and soak that up. All right. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to spawn here. You can see the orbs on top of people's heads. They're responsible for soaking up the poo-poo. All right. We have tank combos. Everybody needs to know about these tank combos, so I'm going to talk about it here in a second. Dark Sorrow does Fracture. Hits her active tank and puts out souls. Those souls need to be gathered. There was a boss that used to be like this too. The tank cannot gather their own soul, so they need to be gathered. You can see here, Fracture. Souls come out. It's, I believe, 1 on normal, 2 on heroic, 3 on mythic. But basically, soak these little things. You can see Volg, I think, is about to. Now, if they don't get soaked, then we're fucked because they get a shit ton of energy and big damage, blah, blah, blah. Soak them. Now, after she does her Fracture, Blood Wrath is going to do I-Beam. I-Beam basically looks at the active tank and does a huge fucking beam and knocks them back and does a bunch of other stuff. You'll see that here. I had the boss here, so I'm getting the I-Beam. Doesn't matter too much. It was heroic. But you can see the I-Beam. This will hit anybody in it, right? So please make sure that this, as a tank, is pointed out this way, or you see the boss about to cast his I-Beam, get the fuck away from him. All right? So we can kind of see here, we tank swap, we do everything. And now some big stuff starts to happen. So Blood Wrath does a blade dance, which is just these lines. These lines don't move, so you can just move out of them. Dusk Blaze does Void Step, so you can see he's moving this way. And Dark Sorrow does Spirit Bomb, which is just AoE. It's fine. Spirit Bomb, you can see, is AoE. Here is the poo-poo that spawns. This is what needs to be soaked up. If you don't soak up the poo-poo, it grows. As you can see over here, how it's growing. Okay. After everyone's moved, you're going to see Blood Wrath here. She's going to Vengeful Retreat, and then she's going to cast the Hunt. Vengeful Retreat and cast the Hunt. Whoever gets targeted by the Hunt can move with this and make this line longer than it normally would. We can see here if Pulse does that. He doesn't. That's totally fine. But you can see whenever we're watching this, just going to cast the hunt. People have circles around them. If you are inside somebody else's circle on Mythic, you are going to die. On Heroic, it didn't really matter. But we just need people to make sure that we're soaking inside of the hunt. Move this as far back as you can so more people can get in. And specifically, these circles are like, even if you're out to here, you'll probably still have the circle on you. So you have to move pretty far out. You know, just soak in. It's Heroic. You can see it didn't even really do that much damage. It took them down to like 50%, even soaking in. All right, so same thing. Dark Sorrow is going to do Fracture on the active tank. I'm going to get I-beamed, so I soak a thing, and then I get I-beamed. And then we taunt swap. And then basically it's a rinse and repeat. Void Step, Blade Dance, the Soul Bomb or Spirit Bomb, Poo-poo on the ground, followed by an instant Vengeful Retreat. You'll see here. Vengeful Retreat into a hunt. There's the hunt. We're going to go ahead and try to soak in. And then now we just repeat. Fracture, followed by I-beam, followed by a Void Step, followed by, let's see, Blade Dance, followed by Spirit Bomb. And then in this case, there's nothing else because they're going into intermission. Okay, intermission. So 2 things that I want to talk about before we even look at what they do in intermission. One boss is going to be inside of intermission. The other 2 are going to be up in the air, like towards the front of the room and the back of the room. You can still hit them as far as testing goes. You can still hit these bosses. So if you have dots, if you have whatever, slam them on the bosses. But for this first intermission, it is the Void guy. Collapsing Star. Do not touch the middle of this boss or else you will die. Do not touch the middle of this boss. The only thing that he does here is it's a pull-in and he spawns orbs on the side of the room. Don't let him hit the boss. Just make sure you're soaking the orbs. I think it's like 3 stacks. 3 stacks and then let it drop. It's like a 5-second debuff, so it should be fine. On Mythic, when we were testing, you get chained to 2 other people. It works basically like Swamp Face does inside of Floodgate, where if somebody runs away with their chain, the other 2 get pulled over to them and take a good amount of damage. So again, don't have to worry too much about Mythic because that shit was fucking cracked. But inside of Heroic, make sure no orbs hit the middle of the room. Usually defensives, we might assign quadrants or whatever just to keep it easier. Now we come back, and it's the same exact thing. Fracture, followed by I-beam, followed by the debuffs that come out, and we'll just let it play out one time more here. We're going to let it do its thing. Blade Dance, followed by Spirit Bomb, followed by Void Step, Poo-poo on the ground, Vengeful Retreat, the hunt, and then repeat. Fracture, I-beam, followed by Blade Dance, Void Step, Spirit Bomb, Vengeful Retreat, hunt, repeat. That is all this boss is. If you understand the first part, you understand the next parts. As you can see here, this guy's making a longer line for us. We're able to completely spread. Boom. It did no fucking damage. We're just going to go ahead and go into the next intermission. Okay, next intermission, in my opinion, is the hardest one. This is going to rely us to really trust our team members. Y'all remember Nexus Princess Kaiveza? It's basically exactly what it was. He's just going to rush throughout the room while everybody else is in the middle. Careful moving with your line. We'll probably assign some stuff. Heroic didn't matter too much. But inside of other Mythic and stuff like that, it's going to really fucking hurt, or even after tuning. So that's all this is. We're going to keep going through. And we're going to see the last intermission here. So Metamorphosis. And what happens with this one is this is the Fell Dev one. So she goes to the middle, or she leaps to a circle, and then she does a cone of a frontal. It does AoE, or it does a dot plus a slow. So she does this. See if we leap again. She leaps again, as you can see over here. So she's going to land like here. Her cone's going to be here. So just move to a safe spot. And then that's dead. Now, what happens if you totally fucking gigafuck the other boss? One boss and you leave the other two alive. What happens, and I don't believe this happens here, they give you a little bit of a grace period. And then they both shoot down. They both end up shooting down to the middle, and they do their intermissions. So in this case, if this was the Void guy and the Havoc Blade Rush guy, we would have to be soaking orbs, so soaking the orbs that go through the middle to him, as well as not getting hit by the guy's blaze lines that constantly move throughout the fight, just like Kaiveza. Overall, pretty interesting fight, pretty decent fight, especially for Heroic. But again, I want everybody to be aware. The order of mechanics is the exact same throughout the fight. Just to show you one more time, right? We have Fracture by Dark Sorrow, tank mechanic. I-Beam on the other tank. And then from here, we have Dark Blaze going to do Void Step. Blood Wrath going to do Blade Dance. Dark Sorrow going to do Spirit Bomb. Move bosses. Move the bosses over. We have Vengeful Retreat, followed by the Hunt, and repeat. That's it. Specifically for the Hunt on Mythic, that's going to be fucked because he Vengeful Retreats. Basically on Mythic, what happens is he Vengeful Retreats. Let's just say he's here. He does one Hunt line, a second Hunt line, and a third Hunt line. We'll just say it's like that. So it'd be like 1, 2, 3. But you get a 10-second debuff whenever you soak the Hunt. So we would basically need to assign groups and basically say, okay, group 1 soak, group 2 soak, group 3 soaks, and he does he charges 1, leaps over, charges 2, leaps over, charges 3. So that's really what fucked us over in Mythic testing. That was super hard, but I think we'll be able to do it on live. But that is the fight on side of Heroic on the longer guide. Thanks, guys.